क्या आप IAS की तैयारी कर रहे हैं और कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स को 2.5 लाख तक की फीस नहीं पे करना चाहते? अगर हाँ, तो 22,500 रुपए में घर बैठ के StudyIQ के पेन ड्राइव कोर्स के साथ आप IAS की तैयारी कर सकते हैं। आज ही विजिट करें StudyIQ.com।
Hello friends and welcome to StudyIQ. In this lecture, we will discuss about the Economic Survey Volume 2. We will cover the Chapter 8. We had already started the Chapter 8 in the previous lecture. Chapter 8 deals with industry and infrastructure. In the previous lecture, we had already covered the industry, and in this lecture, we will cover the infrastructure. So, let us start. In order to ensure high and sustainable growth, it is very important to invest in the infrastructure of the country, especially in transportation, energy, communication, housing, sanitation, urban infrastructure, etc. So, in this lecture, we will analyze how far India is able to achieve it, what are the government initiatives in this regard, and also what are the shortcomings. According to the Global Infrastructure Outlook, rising income levels and economic prosperity in the country, it is likely to further increase the demand for infrastructure in the next 25 years. So, in the coming 25 years, there will be more demand for infrastructure in the country. So, it is important to invest in infrastructure. And if we analyze this with the current trend in India, we will find that there is massive underinvestment in infrastructural sector. And the main reason for this is, one, the collapse of public-private partnership, especially in the power and telecom projects. The government has certain fiscal constraints. So, the government cannot make the complete or full infrastructural investment in the economy. So, what did the government do? The government asked the private entities to participate in the process of infrastructure investment, and this finally led to the PPP model, that is public-private partnership model. But in the recent years, we will see there is a collapse of the public-private partnership, and this has led to underinvestment in the country. Second factor is the stressed balance sheet of private companies. So, the private companies are under stress, and we have already seen this has resulted in increase in the NPAs or non-performing assets in the Indian banks. And because of the stress in the private companies, what happens? The private investment in the economy comes down, and we have seen this in a different chapter in the economic survey. The savings rate and the investment rate has come down. So, when the private investment comes down, what will happen? The government will have to fill the gap of this private investment. But because the government has fiscal constraints and it has various other schemes and limited revenue, the government will not be able to completely fill this gap of private investment. So, this leads to underinvestment in the economy. So, this is the second factor. And the third factor is that issues related to land and forest clearances. So, these are policy issues. There should be adequate policy backup in order to deal with the issues related to land and forest clearances or resource adaptation for investment. So, this also must be taken care of. And now, what is required? In order to fill this underinvestment gap, the government should finance from private investment. Secondly, from institutions who are dedicated for infrastructure financing like the NIIB, National Infrastructure Investment Bank. Also from global institutions like the AIIB, Asian Infrastructural Investment Bank, New Development Bank, or the BRICS Bank. These global institutions like BRICS Bank, etc., they are focusing on sustainable development projects and infrastructural projects. So, government must try to finance from all the sources in order to fill the gap of underinvestment in the economy. Now, we will see the policy intervention in the road sector. Road transport is a very dominant mode of transport in India. It is not only important because of the traffic share, but also it is important because it plays an important role for promoting equitable socio-economic development across the country. So, considering the significance of road transport in India, the government has initiated various policies in order to enhance the road transport in the country. We will discuss them. The first one is the conversion of state highways to national highways. In the last few years, the construction of the national highways has been enhanced or accelerated. The government has received proposals from various state governments in order to declare the state roads or state highways as national highways. So, the proposal was for 64,000 kilometers and almost 10,000 kilometers of roads or routes are new national highways, and so far 3,180 kilometers of state highways are converted into national highways. And India's road density is 1.66 kilometer per square kilometer of area, and it is higher than Japan, USA, China, Brazil and Russia. Two interesting facts regarding the road density in India. One is that higher the density of the national highways means there will be higher interstate trade. And secondly, there is a positive relationship between density of national highways and per capita income. That means if density of national highways in a particular state is high, it means that the per capita income of the population in the state also will be high. So from these two facts, it is very clear that the road transport plays a key role in economic growth and development. Now if we look at the share of road network, we will see that the highest share is for the rural roads, which account for 61% of the total roads. And second one is other PWD roads or OPWD roads, which account for 20%. The third highest share is urban roads, which accounts for 9%, and project roads, which accounts for 5%. Next is the state highways, which accounts for 3%, and last one is the national highway, which accounts for 2%. So the highest share is for the rural roads, and the government is connecting the habitations with the rural roads through Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Remember, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana is a scheme for improving the road transport, and it is a centrally sponsored scheme. Those states which has more density of Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana roads are Bihar, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal, Sikkim, Tripura. So these states, they have a higher density of Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana roads. Roads were more created through this Yojana, and other states like Jammu and Kashmir, Gujarat, Kerala, Arunachal Pradesh, etc., they have lesser density of roads constructed through the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Another important fact is that the relatively developed states, that is those states which are more developed compared to the other states like states of Gujarat, Kerala, etc., they have a higher density of national highways and state highways compared to rural roads. So we have already seen two important facts, that is the density of national highways, if it is more, one, it indicates that there will be more intra-state or interstate trade. And secondly, the per capita income will also be high. So it is very clear from the examples of Gujarat and Kerala that in those states the share of national highways and state highways are more, and they are comparatively or relatively developed states comparing to other states in the country. Now coming to stalled projects. Ministry of Road Transport and Highways and National Highway Authority of India are monitoring the stalled projects on national highways, and wherever there is a physical completion established, one-time fund infusion is done by the NHAI or the National Highway Authority of India in order to revive the stalled projects. And also in this regard, HAM or the hybrid annuity model has been introduced. The hybrid annuity model replaces the EPC. EPC is engineering, procurement and construction model. So EPC is replaced by the HAM or hybrid annuity model. The HAM or the hybrid annuity model, it is a combination of these two models, EPC as well as BOT. So what is EPC? EPC means engineering, procurement and construction, and BOT means it is an annuity model where build, operate and transfer is done by the private entities to the public entity. Now we will briefly see what is this two models. First, let us see what is EPC. Under the EPC model, the private entities will construct the road, and after the construction, the road is handed over to the public or to the government. So here what happens is that only construction is done by the EPC. So after construction the ownership is for the NHAI, and the NHAI, National Highways Authority of India, pays the private players for the construction of the road, and the government will be having the full ownership of these roads, and government will be responsible for toll collection and also for the maintenance of the roads. But on the other hand, what is BOT annuity model? BOT annuity stands for Build, Operate and Transfer model. So under the BOT annuity model, the private players have an active role in the road construction and also in the operation and maintenance. Remember, under the EPC model, only construction is done by the private players, operation and maintenance is done by the government. But under BOT annuity model, construction, operation and maintenance is also done by the private players, and this will be based on an agreement between the private players and the government. So after certain years, as mentioned in the agreement, the private players will hand over the ownership to the government. And under the BOT model, there are two types. One is toll collection, second one is annuity model. So under the BOT toll model, what happens? The private players will collect toll from the public, and under the annuity model, an annual amount is paid by the government to the private players. Now the government has introduced HAM or hybrid annuity model. So what happens in hybrid annuity model? It is a combination of both EPC and also BOT. So 40% will be EPC and the rest 60% will be BOT annuity model. And this HAM model is significant because under this model, it provides for a better financial mechanism as well as the risk is shared between both the parties, the government and the private players. So HAM is a better model compared to the EPC and the BOT annuity model. It is a combination of both. Next one is the Bharatmala Pariyojana. It is an umbrella program for the highways sector, and the focus is to optimize the efficiency of freight and passenger movement across the country. Under this program, focus has been given for the development of economic corridors, inter-corridors, feeder routes, national corridor efficiency improvement, border and international connectivity roads, coastal and port connectivity roads, greenfield expressways, etc. So it is a holistic highway development or improvement initiative. Remember the name Bharatmala Pariyojana. Next one is the railway sector. The focus of the government in the railway sector is for prioritizing the investment in important areas, high-speed rail, high-capacity rolling stock, last-mile rail linkages, port connectivity, attracting private and foreign direct investments, etc. So these are all the focus areas, and these are the areas which needs focus under the railway sector. A major issue in the Indian railways in the recent years is that there is a decline of freight movement in the Indian railways, and the reason is because the railways are not able to provide a competitive tariff structure. So the tariff structure of the freight in railways are non-competitive, and the reason is that the passenger fares has remained more or less flat for many years now, and in order to compensate the loss from passenger fares, the government has increased the freight charges. So this makes the freight movement in a decline. So this makes the freight charges in the railways non-competitive, and therefore the volume has come down. And the important initiatives taken by the government includes tariff rationalization, classification of new commodities, new policy guideline for station-to-station rates, expansion of freight basket through containerization, withdrawal of dual freight policy for export of iron ore, rationalization of coal tariff, etc. Next one is the metro rail system. So due to rapid urbanization, the demand for public transport, especially the metro train transport, has become popular and also very significant. So after the success of the Delhi metro, many other state governments have initiated metro rail projects which include Delhi, Noida, Gurugram, Kolkata, Mumbai, Chennai, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Jaipur, Lucknow, Kochi, etc. The Government of India has notified Metro Rail Policy 2017 in order to provide an enabling ecosystem for metro rail projects in the country. Next is the civil aviation. India is the third largest and the fastest growing domestic aviation market in the world in the terms of number of domestic tickets sold. And from this data, it is very clear that the scope of civil aviation in India is very high. And considering this scope, the government has initiated various schemes for the development of civil aviation in the country, which includes one is the UDAN scheme. It is a regional connectivity scheme, and under the UDAN scheme, the government tries to make civil aviation accessible and affordable for the masses. Under the UDAN scheme, the government tries to stimulate the regional connectivity through a market-based mechanism. Almost 27 states and union territories have already signed MOUs with the government regarding the UDAN scheme, and also many private sector airlines have been actively participating in this scheme. Now, second one is the airport development. The government has provided for rupees 4,500 crore for the revival of 50 unserved and underserved airports in the country. And the government has also approved for setting up 18 greenfield airports. Thirdly, various measures were taken to liberalize the air services. As a part of liberalizing the air services, an agreement was signed for establishing an India-Afghanistan air freight corridor. Also, an air services agreement has been signed between India and Siberia. And also an air services agreement has been signed between India and Serbia. Next one is the shipping sector. Around 95% of India's trade by volume and 68% in terms of value is transported through the sea, and it shows the significance of shipping. Now let us see what are the government initiatives in this regard. Major ports in the country have been benchmarked to international standards, and 116 initiatives were identified by the government, and out of which 86 initiatives have been implemented, and the rest of which will be implemented by 2019. Secondly, Major Ports Authorities Bill 2016 will replace the 1963 Act, and this bill tries to modernize the institutional structure of major ports and will bring modernization in the shipping. Thirdly, Radio Frequency Identification System has been introduced, and this will reduce the time involved in operations in the major ports. Also, direct port delivery and direct port entry are initiated at the major ports for EXIM containers. EXIM containers are export-import containers. Sagarmala program. Sagarmala program is one of the flagship program of Ministry of Shipping to promote port-led development in the country. The aim of this program is to reduce the logistics cost for international and domestic trade with minimum infrastructural investment. And the objectives are: 1. To increase the capacity of the Indian ports. 2. To improve the infrastructure. 3. To promote trade. 4. To promote logistics and supply chain effectively. Next one is the telecom sector. An important issue in the telecom sector is that the private telecom companies are going through a stress period, and therefore the private investments in this sector has come down. An important scheme under the telecom sector is BharatNet, and the target of BharatNet is to link the Gram Panchayats of India through optical fiber network, and it is a part of the Digital India program. Next one is the power sector. Two important schemes under the power sector is: one is Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gram Jyoti Yojana, and under this Yojana it extends financial assistance to distribution companies for their capital expenditure. Next one is the Saubhagya Yojana, and it aims for universal electrification, that is electrification for all. Next one is energy conservation, and in this regard the government has come up with Ujala, that is Unnat Jyoti for affordable LED for all. And under this scheme the government provides LED bulbs to domestic consumers with a target to replace the ordinary bulbs with the LED bulbs. The second one is Street Lighting National Program, and under this program the government replaces the conventional street lights with smart and energy efficient LED street lights. The next one is logistics sector. An important improvement in the logistics sector in India is that the global ranking of World Bank's Logistics Performance Index. So the World Bank releases the Logistics Performance Index, and according to Logistics Performance Index of 2016, India has got the 35th rank. But in 2014 the rank was 54. So India has made a significant achievement in this regard. A major problem with the logistics sector in India is that mostly the logistics sector is in the informal category. So if we are able to formalize the logistics sector, it will not only help in increasing the trade and investment, but also it will help in empowering programs like Make in India, and also it will also help India to become a part of the global supply chain. It will help in facilitating the credit flow into the sector. Also, it will encourage market accountability, and therefore it will attract more investments. It will also gradually lead to formalization of the economy.